Welcome back, guys, to another recap. I am currently in Berlin, Germany, playing the German Schach Bundesliga, the central weekend. How this usually works in the German league is that all of the weekends are played kind of separately. There are only 4 teams in the individual playing hall, and on the final weekend, which means round number 13 to round number 15, is usually played in one location where all of the teams come together. Usually there are also only 2 games in the German league, but in the central weekend usually there are 3 games, which means that yesterday, I'm recording this on Saturday, that yesterday on Friday was a game which I played against Grandmaster Egor Krivoborodov. Hopefully that was some normal pronunciation, with the black pieces against the team of SV Deggendorf. I'm playing for FC Bayern Munich, as you can also see from my shirt. Probably you cannot see, but this is the jersey which we got. By the way, I apologize for probably the most unprofessional setup which I had ever. I'm actually recording this from my bed, because in my hotel room there is not really anything which you can call a table, so I hope that this is going to be sort of acceptable. Yeah, I had the black pieces. The match ended in 4-4 in the end, but more on that at the end of the recap. Yeah, my opponent doesn't really play that much anymore. He's originally from Russia, as far as I'm aware, but has been living in Germany for a few years. But apart from the German league, I don't think he's playing any chess, and even there he's not playing a lot. So I did prepare against him, but most of the games which I saw were like from the early 2000s. Even though he's not even old, because he's 34 or 36 or something like that, but doesn't really play that much. And also preparing against him was not really productive, because then he ended up playing d4 and then g3 on the second move. I mostly looked at e4, which I think is his main repertoire, but it's really difficult to prepare against him, and he usually just does some random stuff. Yeah, also today, by the way, I completely forgot to mention that, is going to be without any engine. I did have a look, I have to be honest, at like 1 or 2 moments yesterday after the game, because I was just too curious what happened. It was quite an interesting fighting game, but like all of the stuff which we're looking now is without the engine. Yeah, I was thinking for quite a bit here, actually, like quite unnecessary, but the thing is, I just wanted to figure out which setup I should choose, because, well, if white starts with the second move g3, it obviously gives black quite a few nice alternatives compared to the normal Catalan move order. Like here, for example, I could go bishop f5, trying to get some type of reversed London, which is definitely possible, and I could have also done that here. Like here also bishop f5 is a serious alternative, but I haven't looked at this in some time, and as far as I know, those lines, like let's say white goes knight f3, e6, c4, how does he get that in the best possible way? Like, can we say c6? And like there are some lines like this, queen b3, queen b6, knight c3. Usually I looked at this when black has the knight on f6 already, like with knight f6, bishop g2 included. So I was trying to figure out if I have any extra options here. One of them could be that now I could go maybe knight d7, and after c5 take a6, and after b4 I already have the time to move the rook, and there is no more b5. But in general, like if we assume, like I never checked this move order with bishop f5 immediately, just because no one plays d4, d5, g3. What would also be possible, like what I mean in general, is this one, c4, e6, knight c3, c6, queen b3. Now that I think, actually here there is also knight h4, which leads basically to the Slav. So this is not really what I want. Is it some h6 somewhere? Like here it might not be so clear to get it even. In the game I can probably try to do it like this, and yeah, some position like this could generally come out, I think. And those lines with queen b3, queen b6, c5, take on b3, like from what I remember, those positions can sometimes be actually not so easy for black to play. Computer says that they're quite equal, and of course also black has pretty decent chances to do something here. But white has more space on the queen side, often is threatening b4, b5. There's also this famous maneuver with b4, knight d2, knight b3, knight a5, which can also often be an idea. Here, concretely, I guess I have ideas with knight a6 also to maybe stop b4 even, and perhaps play knight b4. So all in all, I could have gone for that, and it's probably the better move order, or the better line to try to punish white's move order. But in the end, I decided to stick with g6 just because this symmetrical Grunfeld is what I really know quite well, I think, from both sides, because I had so many games here with white. I prepared it quite often with black as well. And yeah, just decided to go for this one just because I know it the best. He went c4, c6, queen a4. Actually, one thing which then I thought, if it could be more precise, is maybe to start with g6, bishop g2, bishop g7, because now if he goes c4, I was thinking that maybe in this specific move order I could get d takes c4, and if knight f3, I don't know if there are some extra options now. I guess knight f6 would transpose to some of the main lines. Probably there are no extra options, like knight c6 probably runs into d5. So probably doesn't really matter. Yeah, I went for c6, usually do that, not really going for the lines with dc4, and he went queen a4, I went bishop g7, c takes d5, knight takes d5, knight f3, knight b6. I think we are following some, or I know that we are following some theory here. And I did have one game against, what was her name? Sophie Rujlova from Switzerland in Swiss Young Masters tournament. And I think it was also this position where I had the black pieces, and I got a pretty comfortable position out of the opening back then. I don't recall if she played queen c2 or queen d1 or what it was, but also in that game I went for some setup with bishop g4, and it felt pretty normal for black. I think, however, that after queen c2 actually the best move is, as far as I'm aware, is bishop takes d4 immediately, which is of course a strange move because you're giving up the bishop, but on the other hand black is winning a pawn, and there are often ideas like this in this specific line. And then black can often try to take control over the dark squares with f6 and argue that the position is solid enough that you can give up the dark square bishop. But maybe I'm also mixing up. Maybe the way I play it is anyway the right thing, but I believe bishop takes d4 is supposed to be the best move here. If white doesn't go queen c2, I think I looked at queen b4, was it queen b4 at some point? When there was some idea with queen d6, which apparently was pretty good. I think that there were even some ideas with queen e1 for white, but all of that seems fairly normal for black. Even here, I cannot imagine that if black goes for some bishop g4 that the position should be too terrible. The only thing you need to be a bit careful of with black is just not to play too passively and too carefully, because if white can build a nice center, then white is going to be better for sure. Yeah, he went queen c2, I went bishop g4. He went knight bd2, short castle, and now h3. I thought that this is maybe not the best. I was thinking if he should maybe castle instead, when I'm actually not sure. Maybe now I could also take on d4, because what happened in the game was he played h3, I took, and then I took bishop takes d4, because now I thought that I have generally a pretty good version compared to some other lines, because I already exchanged my light squared bishop, which is not always doing so much, and I thought this would give me a pretty decent version. But I'm not so sure. If he starts with something like short castle, he could also play e3. I think something like this happened in my game against Hruslova, and then what I got was something along those lines, some position like this, which then was pretty comfortable for me, at least in that game, which I had about 2 years ago. So this is black's plan if white plays carefully, but the thing is, after h3, take, I was also considering to go knight d7 here, but now I probably get a pretty bad version. First of all, I thought that there might be rook d1, also if white just takes, and now he didn't commit to e3, so he could go e4 at some point. Also, those positions, computer probably is going to give some advantage for white here, but I also think that it shouldn't be too bad for black. Like, I think in this position I was still considering something like queen d4 here and trying to trade queens or take control over the d file. It should also not be too big of an issue, or if bishop h6, bishop g7. But you know, white is the one who is maybe a bit better, just because the bishop on g2 is always also a good piece, or white can try to play for the bishop pair. But I was considering that as well. There were also other ideas for white, like for example bishop g5 was another move I quickly considered, but at the end of the day I decided to take on d4. And now he spent a lot of time, I see like 40 minutes almost, and went for bishop h6, which was really not the move I expected here. Because, okay, first of all, if white just castles, then I go back with the bishop, and I think I'm like a clear pawn up, more or less. I think the logical move is to take on d4, queen takes d4, and now I thought that he should go short castle. Otherwise, if bishop h6, I always have queen b4 check, which messes up his coordination because he has to go king f1. Obviously, queen exchange is not really in his favor. Still, I thought that this was the logical line. My intention was to go queen c4, no idea if there is something better. And I thought that he has to go queen d2 or queen d1, probably queen d2, the better one, to get b3, bishop b2. And I thought I have a couple of different options. Knight d7 or knight a6, both were options. And just in general, I was, you know, thinking of getting something like this, when I still thought that white definitely has probably sufficient compensation. But it also seems like black is pretty safe here, because I could either go f6. Actually, I like one plan, because one thing I was trying to figure out here is how to get control over the d file. And maybe I can try to do some knight e5, knight f7, but yeah, I'm not sure that this is working because of queen e3, and then I'm pinned. But even if I don't get the d file immediately, still I have a feeling that it shouldn't be too terrible for black. Of course, white does have some plans with e4, f4, but yeah, I mean, you know, also knight f6 is one option, and I just had the feeling that I'm probably not getting checkmated immediately. But I was expecting this from my opponent. Maybe he didn't like something else apart from queen c4 here, or he just thought what he played in the game is more interesting, but I was expecting this one. He went bishop h6 immediately, which allowed me to keep my bishop. I went bishop d7, he took, and now h4. This is kind of the only plan which he has, and then I figured out that it's maybe not as easy as I originally thought, because the first move I was thinking about was to go just simply knight d7, but then I realized he can castle queenside. And I thought if he manages to do that, then his king is safe, his rooks are connected, and then I always need to watch out on the king side. Maybe even still this is playable, but I really did not want to allow him to castle queenside. I played queen d6 with the idea to develop with knight d7 next, and not to allow him to castle queenside. Also, I thought my queen is generally quite useful here, even though it does step into rook d1 later on. A fair point which one of my teammates made at dinner yesterday was that I can probably just go h5. But during the game, this also didn't look so simple for me, because like I thought that there were quite a few different ways for him to try to achieve g4. For example, rook d1, knight d7, and let's say queen c3 check, king g8, and I'm not exactly sure what I was thinking about. Was it maybe knight g5? And I thought that g4 would be coming next, and I think that we even still checked this position at dinner, and then it turned out that I think black can just go for something like e6 or queen c7 with the idea of queen e5, and black can actually defend the whole king side, and is doing pretty alright here. It's not like it's a winning advantage, but black I think was even a bit better here. So I could go for that. h6 might be another logical reaction, but here I didn't like that, for example, if rook d1, knight d7, at some point there could be some ideas with h5 and then knight d4, maybe immediately even, h5, g5, knight d4, and then knight f5 seems pretty unpleasant. And if e6, he has at least this one, and at the very least a perpetual, but it should probably be more. So in the end, I played queen d6, which felt normal to me. h5, knight d7. He played rook d1, queen b4 check, king f1, and now knight f6, which I think was also a mistake, but it just looks like a very logical move. Now this feedback which I see here says e5, but to be honest, I didn't really consider that move at all. Because it weakens the d6 square. I'm not even sure what is my next idea. I mean, I am avoiding rook d4. I guess this is the main idea. And the line which I can see here is queen c1, queen c5, queen d2, queen d5, and I guess this is some possible repetition. Yeah, I went knight f6. He went rook d4. Now queen a5. Queen c1. I did expect that, and now after a lot of thought, I decided to take gh5. Which, again, I have no idea what's the current evaluation here. I know that I was in trouble at some point, and then he was in trouble at some point, but I'm not fully familiar with all of the details. G takes h5 was a pretty difficult decision for me to make, because of course it is an ugly move. But the thing is, now he's actually threatening to take here, and then play queen h6 next. And if I go rook h8, which of course prevents him to take, because this is exactly what I want. But now he can always go h6. And now my coordination is so messed up. Like, I think I will never actually get my rook from h8 into the game, so I don't think I can go for that, or I don't think I should go for that. Another option which I thought was quite interesting was to go rook d8. I'm not sure which one. I was looking at both. And I thought this is another interesting opportunity, but I just didn't like it out of general grounds. I mean, I do have quite a bit of counterplay. I always have some back rank ideas as well. And I don't even think that I saw something which like completely made me throw away the line. Just the general look out of it, that, you know, my king is now really weak. His rook on h1 is in the game. I always need to watch out for tactics here. And that made me not go for the line, but I'm not 100% sure now what was... Yeah, also rook h4, this was one line which I looked at, because now rook takes h7 is a threat, and I thought I should go h5. And I was looking at some knight g5 or knight d4, I think both of them, like knight g5, queen d2, I was calculating knight e6 check, king g8, and I thought here I probably have pretty good counterplay. I mean, this could also turn out to be just very good for me, because of all of the back rank ideas. But maybe there's also knight d4 here in this position, and I guess here I have queen e5. Yeah, it might work out. Also, it's questionable if rook h4 is the best move. Maybe I'm missing something here. I mean, white could just... Question is how to solve the problems of the king. Maybe bishop h3 can be an interesting move, just to prepare bishop e6. I didn't really think about it that much in the game, but this actually looks like a pretty unpleasant idea. So I just had a feeling that this does not really look right. G takes h5, of course, also doesn't feel that right. But, you know, at least I'm keeping the h file closed for the moment, and I'm grabbing another pawn. He went g4 very quickly, which I did not expect at all. This was like a huge shock. I expected usually ideas with e4 followed by e5. This was what I was expecting. Problem is I cannot go e5 myself because of queen g5 check. And I was intending to play knight d7 now, because the point is, if he goes e5, I cannot take immediately because of queen g5 check, and then I cannot move the knight because the queen is hanging. But I had the idea that now I have queen b5, And if king g1, then I can take on e5. And if queen g5 check here, then I have knight g6 and my queen is protected. Whoops, that was a mistake. Where were we? Yeah, here e4. So I was expecting, I was calculating this one, knight d7, and still there were quite a few interesting options. I was looking at king g1 when I think it's probably preparing e5. And I was not sure what I would do here yet. Maybe I can still go for h6, similar to the game. Might be possible. But you know, this was the line I was expecting, e4. Or also he could maybe think of including b4 first, but I was mostly looking at e4 ideas. g4 just came like a complete shock. And after way too long of thinking, I went for h6. But at the very least, I have quite a beautiful line for you to show, because at first, I mean, the move which I calculated was h takes g4. And I was really trying to make it work, because if it works, I can have time to consolidate my king, and I'm just going to be 3 pawns up. And I was so close to making it work, but then I hit a big issue. So queen h6 check, I think, is forced. King h8. Now, first of all, I was looking at knight g5, which then I thought could be possible, because I have queen f5. Now, actually, a pretty big threat of queen b1 check. And also queen g6 is one defensive idea. I was thinking about bishop e4. I think I need to take. I was looking at rook takes e4. And then I thought I have g3. And I thought that I should be you know, perhaps surviving here, or it could also be more than that. Like, if he goes for these endgames, now again, maybe I'm missing something here. I didn't, for example, think about knight takes h7. Might actually be in trouble here. But I thought that, you know, I had a feeling that I could survive here, but I could be wrong. After knight takes h7, actually, it looks pretty scary, but maybe I still have this move, rook d8. And it's a funny line, knight f8 check, king g7, rook g4 check. Now I cannot take because of rook h8 mate. Not rook h7, but rook h8. So king f6. Is this mate? Rook h6 check. King f5 or king e5. Yeah, now I can just take the knight on f8. I mean, now it looks like, well, there's still f3. And then rook h5 is coming. Ah, but it's not even mate. What am I talking about? I can just go back down. Yeah, okay, even this line, like, I have absolutely no idea if I just blundered something on the spot. It's possible. Only queen g6 I thought was not working, because then he can take, and is probably gonna just checkmate me on the 7th rank. But I thought after g3 that, you know, maybe I'm okay here, but not. Like, also f3 was another move I was looking at, and then I thought at the very least I have this one. King g2, queen g5, take, and rook g8. Ah, but he has rook h7 here. I completely missed that. I thought that he has to go for this when I have 2 pawns. Still, it's actually not such a practical decision to go there, probably. But, you know, I thought that I'm at least surviving to see another day. But that he has rook h7, I completely missed in my calculation. That's actually a little bit embarrassing. So it seems like my whole line had probably quite a few holes in them. Maybe there is another defense here which I don't see, but if this is not working, then well, I guess I could maybe go for something like this. And I have no idea, knight h7. Then I can give a check and take on h1. Even that is like highly unclear. let's say, king h1, then I have queen h7. Okay, so this actually might be good because now the queen is pinned. Yeah, but anyway, this was just one funny line, but then I realized that he has rook takes g4, and I think I'm just losing on the spot here, because after rook g8, which I think is the only move, he has knight g5. I think this is what I was looking at. And originally I was relying on rook g7 now, which protects h7 and f7. But then I realized that he has knight takes h7 here. And okay, I cannot take with the rook because then queen g7 is made. And the funny thing was that if knight takes g4, there's knight f6 check, knight takes h6, rook takes h6, and at the end it's quite a beautiful mate, I thought. So, you know, I was spending a lot of time in those lines quite unnecessarily. And then I realized that I'm just losing by force here, so I decided to make a move, which at least has kind of a point, which is to stop g5 for the time being. I see that the lichess feedback here gives the move rook fd8, but I didn't really think about allowing g5. This is how the line here goes on: knight g4, rook h5, take on d4, queen e5, e3, knight d5. I guess some knight takes e3 ideas. Take, queen c2. What is this? And here it stops, huh? Like, I have no idea what is going on here. If I'm just losing now after queen c2, or if I can survive some. And it looks just incredibly unclear, but more dangerous for black than probably, because I mean, how do I protect the pawn? I can go rook h8, but it's not like it's a really beautiful move to make. So I decided to go h6. He went b4, queen b5, and now he went rook f4, which I thought was a pleasant surprise for me. I was also thinking about a4, which is the lichess feedback here, when the point is that I need to take with a knight, which it felt like to me should be the right way for him, because now my knight is at least completely on the edge of the board and cannot really join the defense anymore. The problem is if I take with a queen, then he can play g5, and then he can take back with a queen, and I cannot exchange queens now, and now I'm just losing, because yeah, this is going to be checkmate shortly. Queen g5 and then rook h4 mate. So I would have to take with a knight, and I still didn't see why this is now losing for me, even though it looks incredibly risky. But I didn't see the clear way for him. Now, the lichess move here is bishop h3, but I didn't consider this move at all, and I think it's kind of an insane move, which I guess it prepares rook g1, but you don't really want to play that with white, because you still want to at least pretend to do something on the h-file. So it's also just incredibly unclear here. So he went for rook f4, which sets up a nice trap, which is the move rook takes f6. Like, for example, if I do, I don't know, rook d8 here, then he can take here, take, and then rook takes h5. And then he has a double attack against the queen, and also queen takes h6 is a threat. So that's why I played rook h8, which protects the h6 pawn, and also I vacate the f8 square for my king sometimes, which can also play quite a significant role, because the king could run to safety over there. And now the game took a pretty abrupt end with a move repetition. My opponent went knight d4, I went queen e5, knight f3, queen b5, and this is how the game ended, and we agreed to a draw. Now, in the game, I had a feeling that around this point, I already should be better, but my decision to make a draw was mostly, if we're looking at the time. I had like 7 minutes here, he had 10 minutes more than me. It felt like the game was, in general, completely out of control. And that, you know, anything could happen, and there was still some 15 moves to make until time control. So I decided to, you know, call it a day here. But I had a feeling that I should have some advantage here already, because now I kind of consolidated my position, and his attack is also kind of running out. On the other hand, it's still not simple at all. I did see that the final position is like around -1 with the move queen c7, but I'm not really mad at this because I didn't consider queen c7 at all in this position. Like, for me, it was not such a logical move. If I would have played on, it would have been queen e6 for sure, because I wanted to keep the queen in close proximity to my king to be able to defend, but I didn't consider queen c7 at all. A friend of mine told me that it's like, come on, how can you not consider queen c7? It's like the most logical move in the position. For me, it was queen e6 because I'm also hitting the a2 pawn and I'm staying closer to my king. Still, I thought now I'm fairly safe because if he takes on h5, I can always go king f8 and rook d8 is coming. But you know, I was just, even here I think white can play for some tricks. I didn't see the exact way, to be honest. Like if knight d4, I thought I could even take the pawn on a2, and I could also be just taking over in a very short time frame here as well. But maybe he can take and some bishop h3, and always need to watch out for the knight coming to f5. So my feeling was right that I probably should be better here, but still, for human terms, it's like, I think it's just a pretty unclear position still, and you know, I just made the decision that it was not worth it with being low on time. I think the crucial point was here that I should just make this move much faster. Also before that, just to play faster in general. Like this decision also with gh5, I mean, it was not an easy decision, but still, to go down to 20 minutes is nothing which is a good decision in a practical game. So yeah, this is how the game ended, and then also the whole match ended in 4-4. All of the games have been drawn, which doesn't really matter that much for us because it's anyway impossible for us, I think, to get top 3 anymore. We're still on 4th place though, and we want to maintain that. But with the yesterday's 4-4, I think we're in a pretty decent position to try to maintain it. In general, our team, I think, is very strong. I mean, I'm playing on board number 7. There are 8 boards in the German league. And yeah, we have Fedoseev on board number 1. I can actually tell you the whole lineup. It might be interesting for you to know. We have Fedoseev on board 1. We have Jaime Santos Latassa on board 2. Then Idani Puya, Alan Pichot, Jan Subei, Alonso Rosell Alvar, and then me, and then on the last board we have Linus Johansson. At least that was our lineup for the last match. So very good team, and always enjoy playing for them here. It's only my 2nd season playing for FC Bayern Munich, but always have had a pretty good time. So speaking about having good times, I hope you enjoyed today's recap. It was a quite interesting game. I'm looking forward to having a closer look at the game at home, trying to understand what happened a bit more, without an engine, just going over all of the lines. If you have seen some lines, some possible improvements, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, what do you think about the position in the end? How could it continue after queen e6? I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. And yeah. If you want to see more of me, you can head to the video description down below, check out my courses, my other social media. Apart from that, that was it for today, and I'm gonna see you guys soon.